Start recording. Welcome back to the talk show with Jason Takhtadjian. I am so glad to be joined by a very special guest today. He is one of my friends, and he is well known in the Fresno community for being one of the most talented musicians, and honestly one of the most talented people in general that I've ever met. Andrew Hagopian. If you guys know who he is third generation oud player. If you don't know what an oud is, it's a traditional Armenian guitar. It's a good way to put that, right?
Yes. Thank you, Jason, for having me on the show.
Yeah.
You said it exactly as it is. It's the grandfather of the guitar. So,
there you go. The grandfather of the guitar, and you are the grandson of, some of the most, and father and child of some of the most influential people when it comes to Armenian folk music.
Yes, I've been blessed to have my grandfather, Richard Hagopian, who was born in the San Joaquin Valley in Fowler, California, be my mentor from the birth.
Yeah.
So I'm very blessed to have him as an influence and to continue this kind of music and culture for our community.
Yeah, no, this is music that I'll be honest with you, it's so awesome to hear, and it's so cool to learn about, because I feel like there's so much to learn about old Armenian traditional folk music, especially nowadays for some folks like us who may be born in the United States and don't really know that old Armenian history. And kind of just tell us about that significance, or before we even go to that, how you were first introduced. I know your family has a long-standing history, but you remember the first time that you had an oud put into your hands?
That is a very interesting question. I was born in Fresno, California, surrounded by a very versatile and influential Armenian community. That being said, I grew up attending all of the local functions, Armenian picnics, festivals, weddings, parties, you name it. Our family was usually involved on some level with the music. And so, naturally, as a young musician at the age of probably 2 or 3, the family started me out young, so I was placed with a drum at first in my lap. And growing up, I took a liking to the music and really fell in love with not only the music, but the atmosphere that the music it creates. Mm-hmm. And so I learned all the following instruments: the kanun, which is a lap harp, Middle Eastern lap harp, 75 strings, then followed by the oud. I picked up the oud, interestingly enough, after my brother, Philip, who also is a trained musician. He went to Johns Hopkins in Baltimore for piano performance. And when he left for college, he was the first oud player out of the grandsons in our family.
Okay.
And so when he left, I said, you know what? He might not return. The future was uncertain. His path was in a different direction. So I said, you know what? I better learn the oud as the next grandchild to preserve the oud playing in the Hagopian name. And so I did that. And then ironically, he came back. He picked up the oud again. And now, there's 2 oud players. So,
oh my gosh. And now here you are. That's amazing. And a lot of people who are watching who may have the Armenian background, they're very familiar with the Hagopian last name and also with kef time. And that's something that I'm sure you growing up, you saw or heard stories of even the older kef times, and that was part of, the influence of you just being like, yeah, this is for me.
Yes, Jason. The music, it transcends both time and cultures, to be honest with you. And kef time, that term, is something that can either be used to describe a genre of music or an atmosphere of a function.
Yeah.
Traditionally, kef was the word that meant party in Armenian.
Yes.
And kef was applied at a Middle Eastern atmosphere where musicians would gather of all ethnic backgrounds. And kef music consisted of Arabic music, Greek music, some Turkish music, Armenian music, all of the regions in the Middle East. That was kef music. Mm. Then when you come to America, they kind of marketed kef, the genre, as a party. And so they held a bunch of kef times all throughout the United States.
Wow.
And it became a very thriving event, a youthful event, where the Armenian youth came together, they met one another, they met their future spouses, and it was a multi-generational event. So you had grandparents, parents, children, all in attendance. The same thing you would kind of see at an Armenian picnic.
Yeah.
And the music that was brought with them was from Western Armenia, historical Armenia.
Right. And that's the music that you guys play on the oud, and that's the music that I was listening to whenever I came to Kef Time 4, which was, how long ago was that? I want to say a few months ago.
Yeah,
at this
Kef
point.
Time was in January of this last year.
That's right, and it was after a work shift that I had, because I don't usually work on the weekends. So after that Saturday, I'm like, okay, I want to see if I can make it. Maybe it's like the last 20 minutes, because I've heard so much about Kef Time. We have a mutual friend, Dr. Anthony Soroyan, which I hope he'll be on the show soon, with his dad as well.
Yes.
But he tells me about Kef Time. He had left at that point, and I get there, and there's still a party going on. It was 11:30 or 11:45 at night. And I think the party went on until 1 in the morning?
12:30ish, yes.
Give or take.
So give or take.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of fun at Kef Time, and we were so happy that you were able to join us.
Yeah, your hands were so red.
Yes. That evening I was drumming for the band, and it really is just that event that the community looks forward to, that we can provide them with a good time, a few drinks, a full dinner, and Armenian dancing all night long.
It's so cool. I just to see everybody coming together, even though it was the tail end of that party, seeing you in action, but not just seeing you in action. After you were done performing, there was just a wave of people coming up to you and just congratulating you and saying thank you, and then comparing you to your grandpa. And to me, as someone who's just learning about Kef Time for the first time and learning about the Fresno community for the first time, I'm sure that meant a lot to you. I'm sure that meant a lot to you to see that community kind of embrace you and just come. And I know it was a long time we were standing for about 45 minutes on the dance floor just talking left and right, but that was really cool to see, everyone come and thank you.
The community I am very thankful for has been very supportive of my family's endeavor for over now 75 years. Wow. My grandfather started playing the oud in 1950 in Fresno, and, we are now third generation. He had sons. They were all musicians. He had a drummer, a clarinet player, and a violinist, my uncle, who attended Juilliard in New York.
Wow.
And then my brother and I as the third generation of oud playing. In fact, his mother, my grandfather's mother, was born in America, and she used to play piano. So technically, I'm a fourth generation musician.
Yeah, you could add that there. Yeah, for sure. That's amazing. Just the lineage of music in your family, and just, the importance that we as human beings, assign to music, because it just really livens up, the mood or the tone or the situation, the room. Like you said, what the music, what the sounds do in the crowd is what gets you going, and what has gotten your entire family going, and what has really brought Fresno's Armenian community together for decades. And I feel like now we've been teasing the audience who's watching for a while, because you're holding on to that oud for some time here. I think it's time for us to listen to a song, maybe something, one of the first songs that you learned, or just something that you think would be good for the first song.
Yes, so this is the oud. It's an 11-string instrument. Just a little background before I start. It is made completely out of wood with nylon strings. The rosettes are made of horn, and it creates, the thing about the oud and why I love the oud so much is it creates this it can create a vast variety of moods and tones for the Armenian community. It can represent trauma, it can represent sadness, it can also represent happiness and joy. So the first song that I'll play for the program is actually a song called Paro Viegar Sirunyar, which was composed by the blind oud master Hrant Kenkulian, who came in 1950 and gave a concert in Fresno to the Fresno community. And this was one of his more popular Kef songs, and it was more about his love life.
Okay, let's hear it.
Parvigar sirun yar yeskemerdim ke zaman İntimek hampırmıdır astuto serunamar İntimek hampırmıdır astuto serunamar Hamurmun al zemni analtıcı var budas Verçertun siz bidim etseniz Kidem amennen verçertun siz bidim etseniz
Dude, that's amazing. Congrats. Oh my God, that's amazing. Oh my God. Can you tell us about, if anybody who doesn't understand what you were singing, tell us about that song. What was that song about and what were kind of the lyrics? Tell us a little bit about that, yeah.
So this was written, as I said, by the blind master Udi Hran Kenkulyan. And being blind, he had a love life, kind of tragic, but then in the end he did find a bride. He couldn't see her, but he felt the love. Wow. And he was married for quite a number of years, traveling back and forth between the Ottoman Empire and the United States, performing live performances. So, he was a traveling musician, but when he went back, he was with his wife. And so the words, he's saying, Paro Vegar Sirunyar, my lovely sweetheart, why don't you give me a kiss for God's sake,
I see. Wow.
It's one of those love songs which you're going to tend to find that most of the Armenian love songs are, kind of broken love, a very traumatic love from the viewpoint of the musician.
Yeah. It seems like love that has to persevere something, right? It has to get through something. There's a conflict that's in between the love, and that seems to be a common trend whenever it comes to that sort of music. And I mean, that's something that I guess is prevalent with the Armenian folk music too, right?
And the reason is because, being a musician, the creators of the music, especially the composers, it was looked down upon in the old country and for many centuries to be a musician. They were usually poor, traveling, not very family-oriented individuals. And so, it was very hard for them to take brides and spouses and make a family. So for some reason, a lot of their compositions were about their love life that they never managed to have.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's so interesting. And it's also interesting to kind of see how the perspective has changed throughout all these years towards musicians. Like you said, they weren't looked up upon. Nowadays, some of the most popular and the most powerful people are people who make music. So it's just very interesting to see how society has changed and how it's embraced music and has, I'm sure, back in the day they looked down upon it, right? And nowadays we all praise good music. We all love good music, and it's essential to our lives.
Yes, that is true. Another aspect that, influenced that dislike towards the musician was that they were usually performing in nightclub scenes or in the Takhtadjian or the coffee house, as we call it. And that was a place where bachelors gathered. It wasn't, where the women gathered with their men. It was specifically oriented for the bachelor life.
Right.
You had drinking, gambling, card playing, tavlu playing, which is the backgammon for the Armenians.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And all this information that you have when it comes to music, I mean, it's so refreshing. It's so nice. I love learning about new things, and it's so cool because otherwise, if I don't have you here, I don't think I'm going to learn about this type of stuff. And I think, I'm not the only person that would say that. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, you're about to get your master's degree in this sort of realm, right?
Yes, I am graduating with my master's degree from Fresno State in history. And my topic for my thesis was the Armenians, the immigrants that settled in the San Joaquin Valley all throughout California, in fact, that preserved Armenian music from 1900s to the 1960s.
I see. And that's coming up, right? I mean, the semester's almost over, so this has been quite the busy time for you.
Yes, it has.
Oh, my God. Well, thank you for being here
No,
for a second and third time, just because, this is really neat for you to be able to come over here. And I mentioned it in my last episode, in episode 2 with Michael Reddick, just how the Fresno community is welcoming me with open arms. And you are well known in this community, and you've done the same thing with me. And I really appreciate that because, seeing what you're doing and what you're working on, and we alluded to it with Kef Time, is just so cool to see. And I know that there's more coming. There's more in the works, right, whenever it comes to Kef Time and the continuation of it.
So Kef Time has become an annual event for the community, and not just our community in here in Fresno, but we attract a Los Angeles crowd. We attract people from even afar, from East Coast, Midwest. They fly in for Kef Time. Wow. And yes, you are correct. We are planning Kef Time 5 here in the Valley. We're looking forward to it. We're expanding our venue, so this year we're expected to hit 500, 550 attendees this year.
Wow, that's amazing, because how much was it this past Kef Time? Because we had it, this was at Holy Trinity, correct?
Yes. Our average ticket was $65 to attend.
Gotcha.
And that included, a full access bar, dinner, and music.
Wow. And Kef Time 5, like you said, it's going to be a lot bigger. It's going to be in a possibly bigger venue, right? It's going to be something that is just kind of just dialing or circling back the clock, turning the clock back, right? That's the right terminology. As far as, some of the videos that I've seen of Kef Time back in the day, and there was a movie, right? There was a documentary that was also made on Kef Time that you were part of. So it's fair to say that you're also a movie star.
No, I have to give thanks where thanks is, due credit, is an individual by the name of Avo Kamburian from Southern California. He approached me now 4 years ago when we were hosting our original Kef Time in 2022.
Wow.
And he asked, can I be part of it? Can I document this? This is something that you're revitalizing, and it's a community event, and people want to know the backstory to Kef Time and why it's so prevalent and important for our community.
Wow.
And so he did, and I'm very proud to have been a part of that project.
Yeah.
Kind of jump-started Kef Time in a way, gave it more publicity.
Yeah, I think that's important, especially when it comes to the way that we use media nowadays to be able to, connect people that otherwise weren't connected. One example, and I know that this might be a little dated, but I'm going to still mention it. At the time of recording yesterday, I was able to, go and do a story about Yedem. I was able to go do a story about the small town of Yedem that before I even came and moved to Fresno, I didn't know about Yedem. And it's just so interesting that we have this opportunity with media to be able to tell these stories and connect people that don't know about Yedem, and now they want to go visit Yedem. And in the same breath, when it comes to Kef Time, I'm so glad that you were able to connect with Avo and do that, because I think there's some people in Fresno that either need to remember that, hey, Kef Time's still going on, or introduce them, because there's more Armenians that are coming to Fresno. It seems like it does seem like Eastern Armenians are also coming to Fresno too, and I think it'll be nice to hopefully see the mesh of everybody come together for something like this, because of, like you said, it is Western Armenian traditional music.
Mm-hmm. Kef Time, it's great, that we've revitalized it, because for the older generation, it's like a time capsule for them. They're remembering the times when Kef Time used to attract anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 people a given year. And for the new generation, my generation, they look at it as a very fun social event where they can come together with their friends, but also be present with some parents and grandparents. And when you see a crowd out on the dance floor of that mixed generation dancing dances that date back 100, 200 years from the villages of historical Armenia, it's really a touching feeling, because the thought that this could have disappeared 100 years ago, when the genocide took place and all these immigrants came over to America, they brought with them anything and everything that they could. They didn't have a lot of worldly possessions, but what they did have was their memory. And in the songs, in the dances, it takes you from Fresno, California in 2024 all the way back to 1905 in the village of Van, in the village of Marash, from Erzurum.
That's right. It's a transportation of time, right?
Exactly.
It's like a, what do they call it? A time machine, going into a time machine.
And Fresno is very blessed to be one of those locations where you're going to see those dances still prevalent and relevant to the community. Not every Armenian diasporic community is still, preserving these song and dances like you have seen in Fresno, particularly Fresno. There are some song and dances that I can mention that we perform mostly in Fresno, not in a lot of other areas, because the dance is still known by the community members, and the music is still appreciated.
Is there a song that you think comes to mind when you think about that, or when you think about even the music that's played for the Armenian genocide that you'd be willing to share with us?
So, a common song that is well known because it was a provincial song. It was in many of the provinces at the time. Is the Tamzara, and so the Tamzara is one of those dances that came to America, and all the diasporic communities know. Now, for instance, what I was talking about, there's a song called Suleimani, and that song originates from the region of Van. And so if you were a Vanetsi, you were very familiar with this song. And there was a community of Vanetsis in the Fresno area, as well as descendants in the metropolitan area of Detroit who knew this song and have preserved it now for over 100 years. And when you come to Kef Time Fresno and we play that song, you're going to see the participants on the dance floor dancing that very simple, very easy, designed for an elderly gentleman to get up and dance. Someone whose limbs have, slowed down over the years.
Yeah.
You're going to see all the participants on the dance floor, not even holding pinkies like you traditionally would. Their hands are raised and they're swaying back and forth.
Okay, interesting. So that would be something definitely for us to keep an eye out for Kef Time, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, is there another song that you might be willing to leave us off on?
Yes. I'm actually going to do a improvisation.
Okay.
What we call a taksim in Armenian.
Okay.
And so this is a modal improvisation, usually that follows a song before the leader would start a song. It kind of sets the mood of the song. A taksim is basically relaying the inner feelings of the musician at that given moment.
I see. Okay. I'm eager to see and listen. Wow. Wow. That is amazing, dude. And you said that was all just came to you.
Yes.
Right? That all just came to you. Wow. That is amazing. You are honestly one of the most talented people that I have met here in Fresno and in my life, and one of the most humble people too, because you are so graceful, and whenever it comes to all the stuff that you've accomplished and you are going to accomplish, that I know that you are going to, you always have a smile on your face, and you're like, shucks, don't mention me, but you deserve your credit, you deserve your flowers, because you are talented. And I wish that this show was more than a half an hour, because I feel like we could talk for another couple hours when it comes to just learning more about your life and learning about your
started, and
family.
I will go on for hours.
The same goes for me too, man. They could give me half the day and I'll just talk all day. But then again, that's very common with us Armenians. But but again, thank you so much for joining me for this show. I really appreciate the time of you coming in, taking my phone call, and being on with me. It means a lot to me, and I look forward to everything that you achieve, and that Kef Time 5 will be a success.
Thank you, Jason. I really appreciated it, and credit is due to the community. They were the ones who nurtured my talent and supported me and my family. Mm-hmm. And without them, I would be nothing. It is truly the community.
All right. Well, I hope to see you here soon, and I also hope to see you on our morning show playing some music too, hopefully.
Anytime. Let me know, Jason.
You got it, man. I'll see ya.
Thank you.